Hello everyone, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. My name's ArcRevner and I like to play games, and today we're going to be talking about the new 5-star Yoimiya and just how viable she is as a pyro damage dealing unit. There has been a lot of discussion about whether this character is viable, and I'm very pleased to say that she is completely viable. Is she broken? Is she as strong as Hu Tao? No, but she can definitely hold her own and is definitely a welcome addition to the pyro units. In this video, I hope to show just how viable Yoimiya actually is by showing you guys her damage output at level 90, with her signature weapon at R1, and with talents all at level 8. In the future, I will be showing her with more free-to-play builds, but for now I do think it's really important to see just how strong Yoimiya actually is when she's fully equipped with what miHoYo planned for her. However, that being said, I will include some other weapon options at the end of the video, just in case you do not have the Thundering Pulse. If you guys do end up enjoying the video, please feel free to leave me a like and comment down below. I really do appreciate it, and it does help me push into the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more Genshin Impact content, builds, and guides, feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you here. Alright, and with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at her stats. So with the Pyro Resonance, she's sitting at 2,337, her Elemental Mastery is at 65, I wish it was a bit higher, but her crit rate is at 81%, and her crit damage is at 199.3%. Her energy recharge is a bit low at 105.8%, and her Pyro bonus damage is currently at 46.6%. As I mentioned earlier, I'm currently rocking the Thundering Pulse. I'm really glad that I managed to get this weapon. It is her best in slot because it both increases her attack and her normal attack damage depending on how many stacks you're able to accumulate. However, I want to say up front, don't worry if you do not have Thundering Pulse. Although it is her best in slot, there are other options. As for her artifacts, I'm going to be using what I currently think is her best in slot, Shimenawa's Reminiscence, and to keep things simple, I will be using this set throughout the entire video. I did pull Constellation 1 on Yoimiya, however it will not be applied, so she will be at C0 for the entire video, and like mentioned before, her talents are all currently sitting at 888. Alright, but before we get into the main damage showcase with teams, I wanted to show Yoimiya's damage all by herself. We'll be fighting the Cryo Regisfine because I just wanted to show what she's capable of without any team support. As you can see, her numbers actually aren't too bad, however she really struggles as soon as her skill is down. So during this moment you're going to want to swap out to another teammate so that they can deal damage while Yoimiya is getting her skill back up. It also doesn't help that her burst multipliers are actually fairly low, and Yoimiya actually can't take advantage of it herself. She needs supports in order to proc the effects of her burst. I'm going to be real with you guys, this is probably the worst part about her entire kit. It does suck that she does have such low multipliers on her burst and that she can't properly take full advantage of it by herself. This is why her teammates and her team synergy is going to be so important to her overall damage output. Alright, and now that we've covered her on her own, let's get into team synergies. So we're going to be fighting the Primo of Geovishap, and we're going to be using her Fireworks comp, consisting of Xingqiu, Beidou, and Fischl. The idea behind this comp is that you're going to be proccing as many elemental reactions as possible between all 4 units. Yoimiya's internal cooldowns have been a big talking point, so I knew that people would be concerned about it, and I personally wanted to see how her internal cooldowns actually affected her in battle. What I came to notice was that essentially everyone was right. She cannot vaporize every hit, she cannot overload every hit. It's actually more like she gets a big vaporize or overload damage every 3 hits or so. This definitely isn't optimal, but I do think that she would actually be extremely broken if she were able to do this, so I think that this was just balancing on miHoYo's part. However, as you can see, it doesn't really hold her back too much. She's still able to output a lot of damage, and that nice little spike every time she does proc an elemental reaction is more than welcome. However, despite the Fireworks comp being very in line with Yoimiya's overall aesthetic, I actually ended up finding more success in a pure pyro damage team. The team comp that I'm currently showing consists of Yoimiya, Kazuha, Bennett, and Zhongli. The general idea was to boost her damage with Bennett with Pyro Resonance as well as his burst, to shred the enemy's defenses using Kazuha's Anemo Shred, as well as boost the entire team's Pyro bonus damage, and then use Zhongli as a shield as well as an overall 20% resistance shred. And as you can see, it actually worked out really well. Yoimiya was hitting far harder than she ever could be on the other team comp, and we were able to whittle away down its health much faster. However, I also understand that both Kazuha and Zhongli are 5-star units, and you may not have both of them. However, I do think it starts to show just how important 5-star supports actually are when it comes to dealing bigger numbers overall. However, I do think it would be entirely irresponsible to leave the damage showcase there, because Yoimiya actually does her best when fighting single target enemies, like bosses. So instead, we're going to be going into Spiral Abyss Floor 12, where Yoimiya is going to have a much harder time because she is so single target focused. Honestly, this is the biggest test because we need to see whether or not she's actually viable in endgame content, regardless of what is thrown at her. So we're going to start out with her Fireworks comp again. This is because it should be able to deal a lot of AoE damage and help make up for the fact that she is so single target oriented. And then we're going to go ahead and switch over to a double Geo comp and show how well that does in Spiral Abyss as well. What I learned most from this particular run is just how much Yoimiya actually does depend on her team in order to deal out her maximum amount of damage. If you do not have a proper team to support her, she's really going to fall off compared to other damage dealers who can deal a lot of damage all on their own. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just something to keep in mind. Although Yoimiya is a DPS and very single target oriented, she's actually a team player and needs her team to support her as well. I think the absolute hardest thing about this run was just making sure that everyone had their bursts up and their skills ready. And although I don't play completely optimally, I am still able to get a decent clear time. Team comps like this are so valuable to Yoimiya because it actually allows her to hit multiple enemies at once. So finding ways around her single target oriented kit is going to be your key to success when challenging things like Spiral Abyss. To some, this might make Yoimiya a little more high maintenance, however I think that this is something that you typically do for any DPS, it's just something that you focus a little bit more on with Yoimiya specifically. I think that changing up her team depending on what type of content you're currently fighting or need to fight is going to be the best way to move forward with Yoimiya. Also keep in mind that all of my supports on this team are actually level 70 and can be leveled up 20 more times, so that would make them much stronger and be able to burst down these enemies a lot faster. Okay, but now let's take a look at that double Geo comp that I mentioned earlier. I have to be completely honest, I really loved this team comp. I actually think that this team comp might be one of Yoimiya's best team comps in the game currently. I'm not quite sure what to call it just yet, but I think I might end up calling it the GeoWorks comp. The reason why this particular team comp is so good is because of the synergy between Albedo and Yoimiya. Because she attacks so quickly, she's able to constantly proc Albedo's flowers. And because Albedo's flowers are also on such a short cooldown, they're also able to proc Yoimiya's bursts very reliably. On top of this, you're getting Geo Resonance, which increases your damage while shielded. You get extra Geo damage, which provides more synergy between Zhongli and Albedo. And of course, Kazuha is here to lower the enemy's resistance to Pyro, as well as raise Yoimiya's overall damage. I do think that Zhongli is a must-have for this particular build, but you can replace Albedo with the Geo Traveler, or Ningguang, and you can also substitute Kazuha for another Anemo support unit. Just keep in mind that you won't be getting the extra Pyro bonus damage. Alright, and now that we're done with Spiral Abyss, like I mentioned earlier, I did want to give a few recommendations for those that do not have the Thundering Pulse. If you do happen to have any of the other 5-star bows, such as Skyward Harp or the Amos bow, I would go ahead and use those. I think that the Skyward Harp is probably her second best weapon, followed very closely by the Amos bow. However, if you do not have a 5-star weapon, the Rust is probably her best in-slot 4-star weapon, especially with refinements, followed by the new craftable Inazuma bow, the Hanayumi, and I also think that the Blackcliff Warbow is a very good option for her as well due to its crit damage substat. And if you're still in the very beginning of the game and need a good 3-star, you can always use the Slingshot because I think that would probably be her best 3-star weapon. And alright guys, I think that's just about all that I have to say for now. There's still a lot of testing to be done. Yoimiya has just launched, and so I will probably be following up with different artifact builds, different weapon choices, as well as different team comps that best suit Yoimiya. If you're interested in seeing those, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them, and also feel free to leave me a like and comment down below. Like I said, I really do appreciate it, and it really does help me grow my channel. Overall, I do think that Yoimiya is actually a really decent character. I think that she's pretty strong. Do I think that she is the strongest pyro damage dealer? Of course not, but I think that she's more than viable, and if she is your favorite, I think you should go ahead and go for her. Just keep in mind that the Electro Archon is right around the corner. Alright guys, that's all for now. Best wishes. Bye.